Hey, and welcome to my first walkthrough on this channel. Today I'm going to be walking you through one of the games that I have been programming sound for recently. I'll put some footage up here, but you'll see it's a little mobile game, obviously designed for mobile phones. And the main objective of the game is just to run around the world whilst avoiding the Eiffel Tower. It's very simple and, to be honest, requires very few sound effects. In this episode, I'll be talking you through the score and the sound effects of this video game, as well as how I've put them into Wwise ready for the next episode, where I show you how I actually implement them all into Unity. So where I like to start, before I even think about making a score or any sound effect, I'll play the game as it is with no sound whatsoever on it. This way I can sort of get a real feel for the game, understand the mechanics of the game, and also I'll just start to imagine what sounds I would expect to hear if I was playing this game and if the sound was programmed by someone else. So you'll see on the screen right now, here is my original plan. I'll very quickly go through this. So obviously, like the character, as he jumps over the Eiffel Tower, you expect to hear a jump, and with a corresponding land. Maybe little footsteps as he's actually running around the globe, and a die sound effect, obviously, when he hits the Eiffel Tower in the end of the game. And I thought, to keep it simple, I think that was all that the character really needed. The small environmental sound effects of an actual swishing sound, as if he's passing the Eiffel Tower. It sort of gives an audio impression to the user that the actual character has gone over the Eiffel Tower. Then a few more. Every time I score up, obviously you hear a little motif that sort of signifies to the user, oh, I've actually gone up a score. And then another sound to go with the die sound effect, just sort of the actual hitting of the Eiffel Tower, and then the character's voice, obviously, when he hits something. And also like a quick start of the game and acknowledgement. So then as soon as the user says, okay, I want to start this game, they know that it's going to load up. There's a little menu in there, so I've literally just done this down to a little minimum of when the button is clicked. Obviously you'll hear a sound for that. The sound on and off button, that'll sort of signify to the user if the sound is on or off. And then for the music, as the score will keep on increasing, I wanted to actually evolve the score a little bit. As the score increases, I wanted the number of instruments in the mix to actually increase, sort of giving an impression that the music underneath is getting fuller, as if they are doing like better when the score is increased. But yeah, I was on about this being a little 8-bit piece of music because obviously it's very cartoony, it's very sort of retro looking, the game is, so I thought it'd fit very nicely into it. But yeah, that's all to do with the plan at the minute. So if I take you over to my logic file for this, I'll just minimise the music for now. So I actually recorded the character voices myself. I'll probably put up a little video here just like showing you my setup, but my very simple mic setup for this is a PreSonus M7 mic, covered here with the pop filter, and all that goes into is my little Behringer Euphoria UM2 capture card. It's only a one input capture card, it's nothing special, but it does the job from getting it from a mic into my computer, which is amazing. So if we look at the jump sound effects, what I did for this is I made a recording, a big long recording, and just did 4 different jump type sound effects. If I play it, you'll see what I mean. So you'll just hear there, like, each jump then sounds a little bit different. So in Wwise, what I'll eventually do is I'll create a random container, so then one of them sound effects is chosen at random. For me, it just adds to the characteristic of the sound effect. Instead of just playing the same jump sound effect every time the character jumps, it's something completely different, which for me, I really like in video games. I hate it when sound effects become a bit too repetitive. And I've done the exact same here for the land sound effects.
Ooh. Ooh.
And as well the die sound effects.
Ooh. Oh. Ooh. Oh!
This isn't. There's no effects as such on all of these, but in Wise I have actually added some effects to make it sound a little bit more cartoony. So if I go to other parameters of the sound effects, one that I have actually created is this little score up sound effect, which obviously you'll hear as soon as you get another point in the game. So if I go into ES2, this is just a very simple sawtooth synthesizer. At the minute, they're all set to the sawtooth waves and a bit of unison as well to sort of make it sound a lot fuller. And all it is literally just two notes an octave apart, just playing. You got that note and that note, just sort of signifying that, oh, you've leveled, almost like a level up sound effect. Just something to signify, oh, you've actually scored up there and not scored down. Don't get me wrong, this game doesn't have a score down parameter within it, but it just gives that good significance to the sound effects. And then these ones I didn't actually make myself. These were the swish sound effects for when the character eventually goes over the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, I mainly didn't do this because I wanted to focus more on the programming side of this and not the sound design aspect of this, unfortunately. But this is what I got from freesounds.org. And I was really happy with that, actually. And the same with this cartoon thumps. This was for when, obviously, they hit into the Eiffel Tower. It's sort of like the old sort of Tom and Jerry sort of like pan hitting sound effects, which I really liked and thought it would really fit into the game. So if we move down to the UI, we actually have some more synthesizers. I've used this one called Sculpture within Logic, and it sort of tries to replicate different materials. So I'll try and go for more of like a woody sort of muffled hit to him, because you only want him to be short and not exactly really stand outish. So for sound on, it was a little chord that plays. You can tell it sounds a bit marimba-y, a bit like that. So, but I was happy with that. Same with mouse hover. That's just like one single note. Just sort of, because obviously if the mouse hovers quite fast over the sort of parameter that we're looking at, if you have a long sound effect, that can really clutter the audio mix that's going on. So a nice little sound. So if they keep on waggling the mouse forward and back over it, it can sort of handle it a lot better. Mouse clicker's a little bit longer. Almost like the score up sound effect, but a little less dominant in my eyes. Just sort of signifies, oh, you've clicked the mouse in, but it hasn't taken over the whole mix. Then I've done quite an over the top sort of start, which is just a little motif that runs up the musical scale. And here I have added a little bit of reverb. I've decided to add the reverb here rather than later, just so I can sort of take away some of the processing that Wise has to do. Obviously I know in Wise you can actually sort of bake the effect to the sound, but I feel like this way it's easier for me to come back into Logic and change the reverb if needed to, but that's just my personal preference. And then finally for this game, we have the music. First of all, I come up with the bass. I thought, I want sort of like an arpeggiated bass as you'd hear in old retro games. A bit like Pac-Man, tiny bit like Mario. And then I layered that with different pads. Different pad here. So again, pretty simple really. It's not exactly the best score in the world, but for this, just a little pattern underneath as the player plays, just to sort of fill out any empty space that's left between sound effects. So if we add the drums in as well, it starts to sound pretty full. And that's just a very simple 4-bar loop that just keeps on repeating. But as I say, eventually it evolves. So originally it'll start with just one of these instruments when the player loads up the game. But as the score increases, another instrument will come in, then another instrument will come in. So it eventually evolves, and I'll show you in the second episode how I've actually allowed that to evolve randomly as well. So when it starts up, there's no predetermined pattern of how the score is going to evolve. It just evolves by itself, which is pretty cool, and I'm quite happy with it, to be honest with you. I've also created a B section just to change things up from time to time, so the A section doesn't really become too repetitive, and that just sounds a little bit like this. So that just sort of changes the rhythm a little bit, just so it just keeps the score interesting. Basically, just stops it being too repetitive. But yeah, that's basically all the sound effects and music that are actually involved in this game. Just the last one is actually when the character hits the Eiffel Tower. I've actually had this little effect using isotope vinyl, I believe, and there's a little spin down feature where if you obviously spin down the effect, it sort of creates like a vinyl sort of spin down. I'll show you what I mean. But yeah, I thought that'd be a great way to sort of signify to the user that they have crashed and obviously that the game is over. If anything, for me it was a bit like the Pac-Man riff that you hear when obviously he dies. So yeah, that's literally all for sound effects and music for this game. So I'll show you how I put that into Wwise, ready for putting it into Unity. So if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe and even leave a like or a comment. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next episode where I show you how I put all of this into Unity and Wwise. See you then.